obstetrics, labor, delivery, and complications related to the sort. These are many things that are oftentimes overlooked and overskimmed in the field and in the paramedic curriculum. Stick around because today we are going to take a deep dive into two placental conditions that you might see in the field, and better yet, you might see them on the National Registry test. And welcome back to the Palmer's Paramedicine YouTube channel, where we are building the future of pre-hospital emergency medicine. My name is Nathan. I will be your lead instructor, and today we are in the office going to have a mini lesson on some placental conditions. So, placental conditions. Why are we talking about this? Because obstetrics in general is a very low volume but can be a high acuity situation. Better yet, it's also something that you're most likely going to see on your National Registry test. So today we're going to look at a little bit of anatomy. We're going to look at some physiology, some signs and symptoms, and some treatments of two placental conditions or complications that you might see in the field. We're also going to kind of talk about how you can decipher the difference between these two when you're sitting for your school exams or for the National Registry. So, without further ado, let's get started. So today we're going to look at two placental conditions that are often overlooked and forgotten in the field of pre-hospital emergency medicine. We'll look at a little bit of anatomy, as I said before. But let's get started. So, why do pregnant women often call 911? We know that pregnancy is a normal part of life, so pregnant women are only going to call 911 if something is wrong. The most common calls for pregnant women are abdominal pain and vaginal bleeding. We know that childbirth isn't a medical emergency, considered a medical emergency. So if we get these calls, we should be concerned. We should have a high index of suspicion that something could be wrong. We're always going to have our main differential diagnoses in our head when we're going there. What is the worst possible thing that this can be? Obviously, miscarriage or spontaneous abortion is definitely going to be the worst. Uterine rupture is another one that could be bad. But what about two maybe less acute placental complications that you might see in the field? So very quickly, let's review some anatomy. Let's talk about the placenta. This is that temporary organ. It's going to develop in the pregnancy, and it's going to provide that oxygen and the nutrients to that baby. So if something goes wrong with the placenta, this can lead to fetal malnourishment, fetal oxygen deprivation. So it's really a very important organ. Its development, its implantment on the uterine wall is very important. So we want to make sure that is okay. Absolutely. So, but two conditions related. I'm talking about placenta previa and abruptio placenta. Now, these are two that you will see in your textbooks. These are two that you are going to see on a test at some point. So let's break them down more specifically. So the first one that we're going to talk about is placenta previa. So this is a condition where the placenta lies very low in the uterus. It implants very low, and it covers all or part of the cervical opening. So whenever we think of the way that childbirth works, the baby becomes head down and comes out of the cervical opening out of the vagina. So this is a concern for that because now we have something that is in the way of that. This is blocking that. This usually presents with bright red vaginal bleeding, but it's oftentimes painless. More common than not, in most cases, it's seen without pain. Most of these cases are going to start up after about 20 weeks. And what are our concerns? What should we be concerned about in placenta previa? Well, the two main things are going to be shock from the hemorrhage and delivery complications. If you respond to a medical emergency of a woman with imminent delivery and she tells you, hey, paramedic man, I have placenta previa, this is going to be a complicated delivery. This could be a complicated delivery. So to expedite that transport is going to be important. Another thing is shock from the hemorrhage. Hemodynamics, we want to be very concerned about that as well. Moving on to abruptio placenta or placental abruption, however you want to call it. This is a little bit different. This is more acute. This is where the placenta separates from the wall of the uterus before the child is born. We know that with childbirth, after the baby is delivered, the placenta also comes out. But any time before that is cause for concern, and it's definitely a medical emergency. This one we will maybe or maybe not present with vaginal bleeding, but this one does present with pain. So you will have belly and you will have back pain sometimes. This one's often going to occur in the 3rd trimester. And what are we concerned about with this? Well, we have a couple more concerns here. So obviously, just like placenta previa, we're going to be concerned about shock. We're going to be concerned about clotting problems, possible need for blood transfusion for mom, and then multi-system organ failure. All of those things result from the lack of hemodynamics. But we're also concerned about baby in this situation. Whereas with placenta previa, our placenta is intact. It's bonded to the wall of the uterus. It's just in an odd position. Placental abruption can actually harm the placenta and in turn harm the fetus, restricting growth because they don't get enough nutrients, not getting enough oxygen, premature birth, and in worst case scenarios, stillbirth. So definitely want to be able to identify and differentiate between the two of these. One of them is much more less acute. Definitely the higher acute one is going to be the placental abruption. So treatments. Let's talk about treatments really quick, really easy. Treatments are the same for the two: supportive care, transport to appropriate L&D facility of the mother's choosing. This is important because we want to get them to a facility that has L&D services to either perform an emergency C-section or figure out the issue. They can see an L&D doctor, an OBGYN. But one treatment to add to this is a good history. Sometimes with a little investigative detective work, you can find that they have placenta previa already. This can be seen on an ultrasound as early as, like I said, 20 weeks. So if you can pick this up in the assessment, you already have a leg up. Abruptio placenta is a little bit more acute. It's a little bit more of an emergency and cause for concern. So make sure you get them transported to the right place and get them where they need to be. So last but not least, how do you differentiate these two on the test? I know you guys are wanting to know, how do I tell these two apart on the test? It's very simple. I'm going to break it down as simple as possible. Just remember that one presents without pain and one presents with pain. Painless placenta previa. That's all you need to remember. With placenta previa, you are most commonly not going to have pain. So if you have painless, bright red bleeding, that is placenta previa. If you have a painful belly pain, back pain, bleeding, that is abruptio placenta. So just remember, painless placenta previa, that's all you need to know. That is all I have for today. Now you know you can take this knowledge, sit for your test, and you know the difference between placenta previa and abruptio placenta. Check out our channel for videos like this every single week. If you need tutoring, if you're struggling in paramedic school, struggling with the National Registry test, please check out our website listed in the description box below. We would love to help you, give you some private tutoring, give you some NREMT lessons. We are here for you guys. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you next week.